So it's no secret that the real estate market is highly unusual. And by unusual, I mean crazy. There are buyers lining up, overbidding on properties, multiple cash offers, offers over listing price. And the reason behind it is structural. It's that there are not enough houses to go around for what the market needs right now, and even what they're going to need in the next 4 or 5 years. Common wisdom is that there are 4 or 5 million fewer houses than's needed for the market. So how can a normal person, or a builder or general contractor, or even an investor take advantage of this for profit? Well, let's first look at it from the standpoint of a builder or general contractor, and then see how an investor or even a normal business person can piggyback off of that. And by builder, I don't mean like Pulte or Lennar or KB Homes or one of the major home builders. They're not really builders as much as they are vertically integrated corporations that are in the construction industry. I'm talking about a local builder, local contractor. Even if you're not a full range builder, if you're a contractor and have connections, this is a strategy you could use. And if you're a business owner, business person, investor, you can leverage this to your advantage as well, especially if you know somebody who's in the building industry. So you're a builder and you do remodels, maybe you do decks, you do fences, you do light construction. But how can you take advantage of the housing market to maybe make a big score or home run on building a house? Well, here's where you can fit into a gap that's not being taken advantage of. Here's an article about how the middle class is being crushed by the housing crisis and a solution is in plain sight. They're talking about vacant lots in Chicago. And it doesn't have to be Chicago. It could be anywhere. In your town, in your city, in your area, there is vacant property available. They're infill lots. Maybe even in the subdivision, there's an extra lot that never got developed. Maybe it's more rural, where it's not in a subdivision, just an empty lot that's available. Raw land, empty land, even though it's desirable, is not quite as liquid in terms of sales rate as a fully developed single-family home. The reason why is because a single-family home, a buyer can purchase and move in the next day. They have a place to live. They have a roof over their head. An empty lot, a vacant lot, has a lot of steps between now and somebody turning a key in a door. And those steps add value to a property. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of cash to make that happen. Here's an example. You find a lot. In some cases, the lot will be very cheap. In this story, they talk about lots being sold for $10,000 to $13,000. $13,000, far below market rate. The reason why is because even if it's a desirable lot, it's not liquid in terms of somebody can't just move in tomorrow. So the pool of buyers is much smaller. You're not going to have bidding wars on an empty lot. In fact, you can normally get a discount. In this scenario, we're going to suggest not even trying to buy the property at all, but do an option. So if a property has a market value of, let's say, $100,000, maybe it's for sale for $100,000. Maybe it was for sale for $100,000. The ideal lot you'd find is something that was offered for sale, so you know that the buyer, the owner, is interested in selling it. Maybe it was on the market for 8 or 9 months and they took it off the market. There's an ideal prospect. And you approach that person and say, look, you had your house on the market for $100,000. I'll pay $100,000, but what I want to do is I want to do an option. I want to give you $5,000 non-refundable for a purchase option for this lot. For $5,000, I have an option for 24 months to purchase this lot for your full price, $100,000. at my discretion. If I don't follow through, then I lose my $5,000. You get to keep it. During that time, I have the authority to check out permits, do design. I can do whatever I want and even improve the property, but I have that option. And so as a builder, what you do is you get a set of blueprints. That might cost you a couple thousand. You get permits approved for septic, for utility hookups, for impact fees, and the applications for those probably won't cost that much. To get approvals for those might cost another $2,000 or $3,000. So you have a turnkey package for construction, and then with that floor plan, you can either estimate yourself, or if you're a general contractor, get bids from framers, electrical, plumbing, other utilities, septic if it's needed, site work. And you put together a cost basis for that house. And so let's say your cost basis, maybe it's $180 per square foot times 2,000 square feet. So that's going to be $360 plus $100, $460 is your cost basis. And maybe your market value for that house is $650. So you have a $250,000 margin from what the market value would be to your cost. And once you have that package put together, you don't even have to necessarily come out of pocket for any of the cost. You as a builder or an investor can get a construction loan. Construction loans are available from many lenders at 90%, 95% loan to value. So if the total cost is going to be $100 for the lot plus $360 for the development, now you're in for $460 times 90%. You might only have to come out of pocket $20,000, $30,000, and that's if the property owner wants full cash. So if you're an investor, you could put the same deal together with a builder that you know, or even a builder that you don't know you can approach, only with option payments. You have some money at risk, but your upside is huge. If you have $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000 at risk, that's the most you can lose. Your upside is $200,000 on potential sales. A new 2,000 square foot house in most markets is going to be a $600 to $650 property. You could also build it smaller. You could maybe go 1,500 feet or 1,400 feet and be in for maybe $220 building costs plus your lot, maybe $300 all in, and sell it for $450. Now you have $150,000 profit. The key to it is doing the math on all the costs and not having a huge amount of speculative money out of pocket or cash at all out of pocket. Once you start the construction loan, now you have some obligation because you're going to have to pay that loan. You're going to have to complete the project. But if you have done due diligence on what the selling price would be, you know what your market is, you have very little downside. Worst case scenario, even if the market doesn't go up or you're wrong about your selling price, you'll get your money out of it. The most important thing is you're going to have very little out of pocket. You might have $10,000 out of pocket. When's the last time you did an investment for $10,000? You probably have $10,000 in more in a stock that you've purchased. You may own Starbucks stock for $10,000. You may own IBM for $10,000. You may own a builder for $10,000. You certainly don't have a 10x or 20x profit potential on that stock in a course of a year. And you have downside. With your $10,000 cash outlay, you have very little downside. Now, is this more active investment? Certainly. It's not a passive investment where you just pay the money and you hope the stock goes up or your Bitcoin goes up. This is a more active investment project. However, if you are already a building contractor, you already know some of this. You can do most of this arrangement and structuring of the workflow. If you're not a builder, but you are a business person, you already know about workflows. You know about project management. We recommend doing backgrounds on anybody that's involved with this. Builders, contractors, make sure you're not dealing with any, financially defective people. But the bank will also help you because they're only going to do draws on your building project as the work is done. They're going to give draw payments to the builder and not pay them a lump sum all at once where they can just walk away. You can also require that your builder or your subs get surety bonds, bid bonds for their portion. So if they do fail or disappear, then you have a bond, a surety bond that will make you whole. And surety bonds don't cost that much. $40,000, $50,000 surety bond is a few $100s. If you can require your contractor, your sub, to provide that, even if they bake it into their cost, you have some protection with a surety bond. And this is a way to structure a deal where a $10,000 cash outlay can result in a 10x or 15x return on investment. If you are aware of what the vacant land market is like, you can leverage that to your advantage. A lot of sellers on vacant land have high hopes for their price, high hopes for their potential of their land, and that's great. However, they also have recognized the liquidity of that. People aren't coming in just buying land like they are houses. But you can make a piece of land into a house. A turnkey single-family residential right now is like gold. It's like money in the bank. They can't make them fast enough. The market is 5 million properties short. So all you got to do is add one more, and you have 4,999,000 people begging for that house. So it's almost kind of a no-brainer that it's going to work as long as you get the house finished. Once you dig the first shovelful of dirt, now you're in for 10 to 12 months worth of making sure that project gets done. But certainly when it is done, now you have something that's liquid. The key to the whole thing is having some simple math done so that the lender can see that there's no risk. At the same time, you probably can structure it with the seller of the property, of the land, so that you don't have to come out of pocket cash for that either. You can have them put the deed in escrow, transfer in escrow, pending the final construction loan to permanent or construction loan to closing, because they have nothing to lose. Their property is actually improved in value. Their land is in escrow. If you walk away from it, they have a house that's built on it. They have site improvement, so they're not losing any money. In fact, once you have your contract with the builder, with the lender, you could probably get the property owner, you can negotiate them to get an extension on your option. So instead of having a 1-year option, you can say, look, I'll give you another $5,000 in cash and extend it to 2 years, or no money because you already have improvements. Maybe you have $10,000 in site improvements. So if I don't follow through on this closing, you get a property now that has septic installed or site work installed or permits done. The key is not coming out of pocket a lot of cash, keeping your cash outlay 4 figures or less, 7, 8, 9,000. Once you get to 10,000, maybe that's your hard limit. But having an upside of 6 figures or more. So out of pocket 10,000 or less, upside 100,000 or more. So you're at least a 10x in 12 months, 14 months. And if you do it right, you might be able to even get a $200,000, $150,000, $200,000 upside. You may have to share some of that with a few key stakeholders. Depending on how you structure your deal with the builder, they might get a bonus for getting it done early. You're going to have a sales commission. You may actually be able to get the property owner to give some concessions by having them participate in the profit. But your investment is a relatively low amount of cash, some management and oversight. If you get a good builder, good general contractor, they can do some of that key management of the building part of it. You still might have to do project management for the design, arranging of the permits, financing, but those are deals you do all the time. And unlike a long-term business, this is a project with a finite amount of time associated with it. It's a 12 to 14 month project. And at the same time, you're benefiting the housing market. You're putting another dent in the shortfall of homes that's needed. You're investing in a demand level that is not going anywhere. Look, if you're in business selling widgets, if the widget market falls off the cliff next month, you're out of business, or you're slow on sales. If you're in the home building business that has such a slow sales cycle or a slow production cycle, 5 million homes is not going to get swallowed up by the time you get done, no matter how long it takes. No matter what happens in the market. 5 million home deficit is not going away anytime soon. And your house is going to be a drop in the bucket of it anyways. Even if half of it somehow magically gets produced in a year, there's still 2 million, 2.5 million deficit in homes that's needed. So it's a very low risk for market. The risk is project management. So if you have a knack for managing a project, or have a general contractor that can manage a project, this investment has a very high probability of return, and a healthy return with a very low risk. It's not completely passive. You do have to put some effort and pay attention to details, but it's not like you have to swing a hammer. If you put a little effort into managing a project, which you probably like doing anyways, it's a way to flip 10,000 into 100 or close to it.